Hey Bat fans, Luke here, ready to do some bat chatting with y'all. And we're going to take a look at a ton of books, and I'm going to mix it up a little bit. Start off. Normally I don't talk about indies, but since there were so many and so many good ones, I do kind of want to make a kind of an honorable mention to some of them. And we're first talk very briefly, and these are going to be very brief. We're going to talk real quickly about Reborn issue number 1, and I was looking forward to this for a very long time since I knew it was announced. This is Mark Millar's new story with pretty much the cast from Batman Volume 1. We have Greg Capullo on art, Jonathan Glapion on inks, and FCO Placencia on colors. And I will say this, the book is absolutely beautiful. And there's some things that Capullo can now get away with now that he's on an independent title that he couldn't get away with on Batman. More or less some bloody parts. But other than that, it is a beautifully crafted issue, and I think the story pretty interesting. Definitely recommend everyone pick that one up. Next book, one I've just been absolutely enjoying, and that one is upside down, is a title called Black Monday Murders from Image Comics. This one's issue number 3. And basically what this book is about is talks about the collapse of the financial market. But it's taken to a weird place where we got basically it's like a patriarchal family that kind of dictates how the stock market kind of operates, but introduce a twist where we have a murder. So it's kind of like a weird history book slash occult mystery horror type story. Trust me, you gotta read it. It is a $4.99 book, but they're very dense books. It's a book that will challenge you. You have to pay attention to the details. But trust me, it is a fantastic read. Highly, highly recommend you read The Black Monday Murders if you can. This is definitely one you can't just jump on issue number 3 and be okay. This is one where unfortunately you have to go back to issue number 1 and read it straight through. And again, pay attention to details. But it is an awesome book. Highly recommend that. Next Image title, Kill or Be Killed, issue number 3. New title by Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, and Elizabeth Breitweiser. Basically your creative team from the Fade Out, and I think remember Fatale. Yeah, just Fatale, I think. Anyway, book about an individual who basically has to kill people before a demon has to kill him. So basically, he stays alive as long as he keeps killing. However, there's a twist to this where we have a lot of character development in this issue, dealing with him and his roommate's girlfriend, which is sort of like his friend, and got that whole love triangle thing. It's starting to brew. In addition to that, how our main character kind of deals with the aftermath of killing people. It seems really simple, but trust me, you gotta read it. The book is absolutely beautiful. Highly recommend Kill or Be Killed. This series as well. This one I was really excited for because, man, I haven't had American Vampire in quite some time. I think we're going to have some more coming in 2017. This one is Anthology number 2. Best thing about this is that I don't think you need to know a whole lot about American Vampire to kind of get the gist of the stories that are in here. There is like 10 stories. It kind of reminds me of the Batman Black and White series where you have a bunch of multiple stories. They're only about 8 pages long, each one. This one, very similar to that, but it's just centered on the American Vampire universe. Basically, it's vampire stories going back to, I think, to the 1800s up to like 1970. So it's an awesome read. Creative teams on here, they're like superstars. You got Dot Snyder, Raphael Albuquerque, you got Marguerite Bennett, you got Steve Orlando, Andrea Moody's in this. There's just a ton So definitely recommend American Vampire Anthology #2. It is a little pricey. It's $7.99, but it's one of those square bound, really thick books. Highly recommended. Last one, indie book we're talking about is The Lost Boys. I really enjoyed the movie. I love the movie. Matter of fact, that's kind of shut it short. This one, I'm only going to recommend really to the fans of the movie because this is really going to serve to the nostalgia of everybody. I think it's only going to be a 6-issue mini, and this one does do a lot of just laying the groundwork for how the series is going to go. And then the last 3 or 4 pages, it does ramp up. But yeah, it's pretty much like the movie. It's centered in that kind of feel, and it's going to be fun for a person who has loved the movie. This is going to be a good time. If you didn't like the movie, you're probably not going to like this. But yeah, The Lost Boys. So anyway, those are my rambles on some of the indie titles I want to talk about. Let's get to the Bat books, and we're going to start off with Detective Comics issue number 942, where we have the regular cover on the left done by Yannick Paquette, and on the right we have Raphael Albuquerque. And I may just do a video on Monster Men, the Monster Man story as a whole, but not really to go too far in depth into this video. But I will say, this did what I feared it was going to do, was that we get like the cliffhanger that Batman was going to go after Hugo Strange into the final issue. But since we had very little interaction with Hugo Strange directly, since we're going into the final issue of this crossover event, I don't think that one issue was enough, and it really did feel kind of rushed in this, to be perfectly honest. The art I thought was okay, but yeah, it felt rushed. I think we probably could have took out one issue with the Bat family going after these big, huge monsters, and kind of gave one more issue to kind of like laying the groundwork and execution of the final showdown between Batman and Hugo Strange. Even have kind of like the Bat family interacted with it a little bit more. Another part I thought was kind of cheesy on this as well was the Wayne Towers, basically Batwoman, Dick, a spoiler, and Cassandra going into the buildings, and they kind of got like guns. And I get it, the buildings were there to kind of be able to react to another dark side attack. That said, it did feel kind of convenient that it was there, and that much firepower, put in other words. That was kind of convenient. Well, I did like how Dick kind of put the pieces together as far as the intentions why Hugo Strange was kind of doing what he was doing. It did feel kind of cheap how Dick kind of took down the big monster. Basically made it throw up on itself. But the biggest thing I thought was kind of rip off on the story was how Hugo Strange was defeated ultimately with Clayface. That was it was let down. Well, I did like how Batman was kind of telling him like, hey, you might want to stop talking. You might want to stop talking. And you're reading it, you're thinking like, hey, this is like a warning to Strange. You're about to get your butt whipped. You might want to shut up. But in the aftermath, you kind of look back. I'm like, oh, how about that? But yeah, it's just overall, I just thought it was the big epic showdown with Hugo Strange was just glanced over and rushed. As a whole, it's going to sound really harsh, but it is what it is. I'm going to give this a 2.5 out of 5. It was average. And then I might just do a separate video on the Monster Men series on its own. But yeah, to be honest, it did exactly what I feared it was going to do. And that was, it was going to be rushed. And it had that feel like it was rushed. Alright, next book we're going to take a look at is All-Star Batman issue #3. I only got one cover this time. I was definitely not picking up the the cover with Duke Thomas on it. I despise Duke Thomas. And my shop did not have the Jock variant, but I already got something in the works. The Jock variant, it's on its way. So fear not, Sarge America. Luke Man will have multiple covers of All-Star Batman. It just be a little late, but neither here nor there. To my buddy from Comic Book Roundtable, I'm gonna link him below. Awesome dude, check that dude out. Yeah, All-Star. I thought the fight with Batman against KGBs was actually pretty cool, and overall, I think the story is okay. We do find out here that Bruce and Harvey knew each other way back as kids, which I had to really think about it. It was whether this was like a total retcon or is this something new. And going back as far as Batman and Two-Face, the story Gleason and Tomasi and Gleason did, I don't think so. I think they met just as Harvey was running for was actually being nominated, I guess, given the idea to run for district attorney when he was a public defender. So I do not believe this is new territory in being a Bat fan, as much as I claim to be. I should know that, but I'm pretty confident saying that no, they didn't know each other as kids. Not like they were like Bruce and Tommy Elliott. Hush did. So, but yeah, the story itself is okay. Now the thing that kind of got me worried a little bit is how much they're going to glance over this is the very end of the cliffhanger, where basically, Batman gets the acid thrown on him by Two-Face. And I just hope that that's just not glanced over. It would be really, and you know what, it's probably going to happen that he has some sort of defense mechanism on his face. I don't know, we'll see. But I'm a little worried on how much that's going to be glanced over. The art, oh man, tell you what, my tolerance for the Romita Jr. art is about tapped. It had some good parts in this, but it had some really bad parts. The Hunchback look really. The Hunchback who fixed, I forget the name, Harry, whatever, who basically stitched up Two-Face. He has disproportionate body to begin with, due to the fact he's a hunchback. But then when you throw Romita's art on top of that, it just looks really goofy. And Batman's face with the bruises, it just looks so amateurish. I said from the jump I really wasn't a fan of Romita's art, and unfortunately, it kind of it has its moments where it's okay, but when it's like brain numbing, it is brain numbing. In this one, there was a lot of brain numbing art in this. Well, I forgot to give the art. No, I didn't. I mentioned the grade for detective. Sidebar. The backstory, again, I do not like Duke. That said, this one, I see a little bit more of a connection with Victor Zsasz, which is making me kind of curious a little bit more, and things are starting to make sense a little bit more about where the backstory can be going. Now, do I care about Duke and his parents? Absolutely not. I got my fill of that story with All-Star Batman and Endgame, not All-Star Batman. We Are Robin and Endgame, the whole thing with Duke and his parents, I get it. Again, I'm getting force-fed Duke Thomas. Enough. But that said, the back-end story in this one, probably, I think, the first one was the creepiest, second one, interesting. This one feels like things are starting to come together a little bit more, and I kind of see where they're going with it. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5, and if maybe the art was a little bit better, this could have been pushing a 3.5, maybe 4. But yeah, it's just, the art's killing a little bit. Alright, next title we have, take a look at, is Red Hood and the Outlaws, issue number 3. Basically have the introduction of Bizarro. And man, I'm going to say this, to be honest. I picked up the cover, and one thing, it gets me nervous because I'm just wondering when Lobdell is going to drop the ball. When you start seeing the banterish dialogue like this, and especially on the cover, I was a little worried. I thought, okay, this was it. This is when Lobdell's going to do his thing, and all this great work he's been doing thus far, it's going to be ruined by some banterish bullcrap. And it didn't, to be honest. This was fun. And the Bizarro in this, yeah, it's kind of like tragic in a way, how you see Black Mask is kind of grooming this Bizarro, kind of like very Clockwork Orange-ish in its execution, how he's kind of mold him to be the Bizarro he's going to be. And again, it's Clockwork Orange, but at the same time, it's very sympathetic. And what I like is how Jason Todd actually kind of builds a parallel with what Bizarro's going through versus what he had to go through. So, but yeah, that was very interesting. I thought the dialogue was great. The interaction between JT and Black Mask Roman was cool. The one thing that made me kind of scratch my head is it was very off character. I thought was Jason Todd bringing Bizarro kind of like the stuffed animal Superman, and it felt really out of character because Jason is not that nice. He can have some moments where he's like, okay, got it, I'll be your bud type of thing. But it's like, to do something like that, it just felt a little out of character. It's too nice. The dude has been through too much grief and tragedy, and the emotions are too suppressed to do something like that. So, but that said, this was good, and Lobdell, he still continues to surprise me, and the artness was great. Soy, Soy, man, it's beautiful. Red Hood and the Outlaws continues to be really great since Rebirth. I'm giving this a 3.5, floating on a 3.75. What the hell? 3.75 out of 5. This was fun, minus that one little hiccup with the stuffed animal. I'm loving this team. Bizarro. It's not like the Bizarro we had in that last miniseries with the DCU universe type of approach. And he's not like totally stupid. Nah, that's a bad way of saying it. Kind of like the Forever Evil type of Bizarro. It's different. It's good. We'll just leave it at that. Good stuff. Red Hood and the Outlaws continues to be very stellar. Gotham Academy, second semester, issue number 2. This was good, and it was good because this felt like the first time I'm getting a good Gotham Academy story since it's been, I bet you, half a year. Because ever since that yearbook crap storyline, Gotham Academy has been kind of downhill. And issue number 1 really did feel like kind of like just a setup issue. In this, we get to see some story. What I might mean by that is that we're seeing a little bit of tension kind of built within the crew. Right now, Olive is spending more time with her new roommate than the member of the detective club, especially Maps. And Maps is starting to feel kind of burned by it. She's being treated like a second-class friend, and Olive, again, she's skipping out on meetings, and so you feel tension start to grow. Maybe not as much as between Olive and Maps. That might not be the right word, tension, but definitely some disappointment between the two. But you definitely feel some tension between how Maps feels toward Olive's roommate. That said, in this, what we have is all these new students that are going missing, and they're actually found kind of joining together in this witch group. And they all got these witch hats on, and they're all mind controlled and whatnot, try to come follow the witch group, And if you have been following Gotham Academy for any length of time, you know that they love to sit there and kind of sprinkle Bat history and lore throughout as they kind of tell these stories, and they kind of throw in the little bit of references of Bat villains. I know we had the Bookworm, and then we had Hugo Strange. And I'm willing to bet that we're going to see some sort of reference to Jervis Tetch, Mad Hatter in this. If you read it, you get what I'm saying. Artness was solid. Again, this really felt like a return to the Gotham Academy I loved in the early run. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Good stuff. I can't wait for next issue. And lastly, 2 books. You know, we're going to do a double shot. Nick Lenz, double shot. Another YouTuber, which he's good. He kind of cracks me up sometimes. But yeah, we'll do a double shot. Earth 2 Society. I was this close. That close to dropping it. But I think this issue kind of saved itself a little bit. Where basically the Earth 2 Society now are coming together, and they're in this blank world where it's gonna scare some people when I say this, but it's kind of like Convergence, where they kind of like lived in a dome type of thing. Well, this one again, it's a blank world, but they're kind of encased in this case type of thing, and then there's this outside force that's saying, you know, outside being recognized must destroy, and there's like all these assassins coming to pull them out of their world and kind of remove them, whatever. It's very good. Fury, I think, yeah. That's so I'm having trouble with all the Earth 2 names, but Fury, yeah, Wonder Woman, Fury. Feels a lot of remorse for opening up the Pandora's box in this, and the tension between her and I think it's Hawkwoman. If not Hawkwoman, no. Who was it? Can't remember, but there's some definitely divide on what some of the heroes from Earth 2 are feeling toward Wonder Woman when she opened up the Pandora's box. But that said, it was pretty darn good. The cliffhanger, we see return of Superman come back from his self-imposed exile as a meta, or I think that's what they call him. But yeah, Earth 2 Society bought some time with me. This was solid, and I'd like to see where this is going. I'm going to still give it a 2.5. It's average, but I perked my interest just a little bit. And again, bought itself some more time because I was about ready to drop it. And then I read that, and I was like, okay, I'll stick off a little bit and just kind of see where it's going. Lastly, Suicide Squad issue number 4. And yeah, to be perfectly honest, the main story in this was okay. Kind of wrapped up the big fight in the Russia prison underwater or whatnot, and basically the gang kind of comes away with the Phantom Zone, and General Zod is defeated and whatnot. Yeah, the art is okay. Blah 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 blah. But the best part of the book, just to kind of get to the best part, is the end. The backstory is between Flag and Harley, and what Flag is doing. He's not too sure about how much he can trust Harley, so he's going to take him on this mission and kind of try her out. He kind of convinces Waller that, hey, you know what, she doesn't pan out, forget it. She needs to be locked up in Belle Reve and never be left out, and she's done. And if she does well, hey, she can kind of come with me. So they go on this mission, and it turns out that they're coming up against this quasi-crime scene that has this trap set up with a bunch of Joker gas in this kind of like a thermite grenade type thing, and they got to try to extract it before it kind of goes off. And unfortunately, it goes off, and all these people become affected by the Joker gas, and the Joker shows up, and it's dialogue between Joker and Harley, and it was so good. I love this. Was, I think, by far the best backup story. I forget who did the art. I can't remember who did the art in the back. The art was really good. The Joker was awesome, and then there's the twist at it at the end. While everyone, including Flag, became affected by the Joker gas, Harley reveals that, hey, I'm kind of immune to it. But the thing was that she was sitting there talking to the Joker the whole entire time, and no one else knew the Joker was there. So was the Joker just a figment of Harley's imagination, or she had some effect of the gas? I don't know, but the backup story of this was great. And anytime you get a good interaction between this new take on Harley, the one that kind of isn't so dependent on the Joker, actually kind of resentful to the Joker. It's interesting to see the two kind of bounce back and forth against each other, like that one issue in Harley Quinn. We had the big fight in Arkham. Yeah, it was good. I really did enjoy the back issue in this. I'm giving this a 3 out of 5 because of the backstory. The main story in this was kind of, yeah, kind of see where they go now with, basically Task Force X having control of the Phantom Zone. But yeah, art was good, story was, yeah, backstory was great. Absolutely enjoyed it. So anyway, those were this week's Bat books. Next week, we have a whole bunch of books coming out. Mainly, we have the Return of Dark Knight 3. Master Race comes back with issue number 6, I believe. And we have Mikhail Genin on Batman as we start the I Am Suicide storyline. So good stuff to look forward to next week, in addition to, I think, Harley Quinn and Nightwing, a whole bunch of titles. So anyway, hit me up, comments below. Let me know what you thought, and bat chat and go from there. So until next week, take care, everybody.